hopefully we're all getting a little wiser with the passage of time. And in my case, these are 10 retirement beliefs that I used to believe, but I changed my mind on during my 20 years as a financial advisor. And the first one is really fundamental. It's what we're trying to achieve with financial advising, what we're trying to achieve with investing. I used to think that the goal was to beat the stock market. The goal was to beat the S&P 500 each and every year. I no longer believe that now. I think the goal is to achieve our goals. And what most of us are trying to do is to build financial independence so we don't have to work anymore, so we don't have to worry about running out of money in retirement. And part of that is investing in our investing success, but also an important part of that is risk mitigation. So that's the first one. The second one has to do with life as well. And one of the nice things about being a financial advisor is I get to observe hundreds of other lives and see how they played out for people. And oftentimes people are optimizing on their bank account. And that's the second belief that I used to believe, but I no longer do. And that is that the goal is to optimize on our bank account. What I believe instead is our goal is to optimize on life. There's always ways to make more money, but we only get one journey through this life, and we're only going to be in our 20s once. We're only going to be in our 30s once. We're only going to be in our 40s or our 50s, or what I talk a lot about in this channel is the youth of our senior years, which is our 50s to our 70s, our late 60s, until our health runs out. I call that the youth of our senior years. And I think what we want to do is we want to optimize the journey for each stage that we're in. A great book to help you think through this, as far as, what are the things that you want to do in each phase of your life, is a book by Bill Perkins, and it's called Die with Zero. But it talks about these different phases and how to optimize the utility that we get from our money, how to optimize how much joy our money can bring to us. So that's the second one. The third one I used to believe is we have that you don't want to retire from something, you want to retire to something. And so oftentimes, after 20, 30, 40 years of working, we're done, you know, and we just want to retire. And I would tell my clients, it's important to retire to something. Now, I still believe that, but what I no longer believe is that the retire to something has to be something else that's going to take 35, 40, 50 hours a week of your time. That's a big ask for most of us. Having just gone through retirement myself, I retired almost exactly a year ago as I record this. Um, I had something that I knew I was passionate about that would take 10 or 15 hours a week. Frankly, it's teaching, it's giving back, it's this YouTube channel for me right now. So I had something that I knew I was interested in, but it wasn't 40 hours a week. It certainly wasn't 50 hours a week. And I wasn't sure I had enough. But what the last year taught me was if you have 10 or 15 hours worth of another activity that you're passionate about, that can act as the seed that you can plant when you're retired, and then that can grow into other passions. So that's number three. Number four, and I I feel guilty even, having these words come out of my mouth, but when I was younger, I did believe that he with the most toys at the end wins, and I really I realize now how shallow that is. I don't feel that way at all. It's not about toys, it's about experiences, it's about relationships, it's about, in my case, adventures. It's about doing things and being with people that you care and love. Okay, number five is gonna get me even in more trouble, but I wanna be candid with you. I used to think that children, were a huge expense, and they are, but there's so much more than that. Having been the father of two wonderful daughters, now young adults, I realized that raising them and having relationships with them that is the most meaningful part of my life journey to date. So I no longer think that kids are a major expense. I view it as a huge investment in something that for the right people, you're gonna get a lot out of. I don't think everybody, needs to, and there's nothing wrong with not having kids or not wanting to have kids. I was candidly in that camp myself for a long period of time, and fortunately, my wife brought me along because now as I look back, it's one of the most meaningful things that I've done. Okay, another one, number 6. I used to think that work was king, that it was okay to sacrifice a lot of things for work, to get the next promotion, to have an interesting opportunity, that work was at the heart of our lives, and it's an important part of our lives, but we work to provide a living, we work to provide some meaning in our lives, but it's easy for work to take over our lives if we're not careful, and there definitely was a period of time in my life where work kind of took over and became more than it should have been. I think work at best, work and career and getting satisfaction from your career is done best when it's a piece of a broader mosaic that has other rich experiences in it. Okay, the next one is, and I think this is fairly common. I used to think I had all the time in the world. I used to think my clients had all the time in the world. The hairs on the back of my neck would not go up when I first started working when as a financial advisor, when people would say, I'm just gonna work one more year. And now I consider that the 4 most dangerous words for a would-be retiree. Just one more year. Because if we're not careful, just one more year can morph into 4, 5, 6, or more years, and we're just kicking the can down the street. I want us to all cherish and really guard the youth of our senior years. Okay. Related to that, number 8, I used to think it was okay to skip vacation. Almost half of all Americans do not use all of their vacation, and mea culpa. I was lucky, I worked for a company that was very generous with vacation, but it was not unusual for me to not use all of my vacation. And now I look back and I say, I wish I hadn't done that. Um, and I feel that way for my clients as well. I used to not just manage their finances, not just plan for retirement, not just help them make good financial decisions, but also one of the things I would ask them is, "Hey, what are you gonna do on your vacation this year? And, do you plan on using all of your vacation?" And to be a polite nag, frankly, if they weren't gonna use all of their vacation, and just remind them none of us know when our health is gonna go, so take advantage of it and take advantage of your vacation. Okay, number 9, this has to do with, um, being involved in the lives of hundreds of families and seeing where people are successful and they look back and they're happy versus when they're not. And that is how wealthier people view spending money. And the big difference is viewing spending money almost as an investment. So it's not unusual. I worked with many people that were millionaires, people that had tens of millions of dollars or more. And I'm fortunate enough to be friends with a handful of billionaires as well. And they really view their spending. It's not unusual for their life not to be that different than my life and most of my audience's life, but they view spending money as an investment, spending money to help their kids get a solid education, to get the training to live the life that they want. For instance, I went to business school and when I went to get my MBA, a lot of people said it was not a good return on investment. And that may or may not be true. But what I can say is it opened the door and made it easier for me to live the life that I wanted to have. And that's what I see wealthy people doing is doing things to support causes, to support people that they care about, and to enable them to make it easier for them to have the life that they want. And the last, number 10, that I've changed my mind on is thinking that it's okay to sacrifice today for a better tomorrow. And at the core, I still believe that, but I also believe we have to be careful because there's a large portion of us, if you've made it this far in this video, and maybe you may fall into this camp as well, that maybe we're too willing to sacrifice today for a better tomorrow. And what we have to be careful is tomorrow's not promised to us, and we don't know what our health is going to be. So it's important to balance enjoying today as well as tomorrow, which is one of the reasons I made this video here that talks about the 8 things to stop doing in your 50s and 60s to enjoy your journey to retirement. I'll see you in that video. Bye-bye.